Hello, everyone. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor in Paradise, a guy's review. We've got Rachel Lindsay, of course, the queen of Bachelor Nation. Whether she's still associated with it or not, she's the queen bee. She dictates the news. She gets the clicks. She's gotten it right many times over the last few years over what certain guys may be like in real life. She does a podcast and talks about Brendan and Pieper and how colorism played a part. She gives us some, I would call it anecdotal evidence, some hearsay, some news that she got down from the beach. We're going to listen to all that. I'm going to play I'll read some of your comments afterwards. Title is Rachel Lindsay and Callie Curry on even more drama between Brendan, Pieper, and Natasha. Do me a favor, if you like this content, hit the like button an odd number of times and subscribe to the channel. I much appreciate that. All right, so let's get into it. We've got audio only here. We're going to start it at a few minutes in, and then I'm going to jump a few times just to give you guys a little taste of what was talked about. It's a fantastic podcast. Rachel Lindsay always does a great job of explaining things and breaking them down for people that might not understand what it's like to walk through life in someone's shoes that looks like her. And I think that's what we need in life, is to listen to others that have differencing of opinions based on their own world views. We talked about colorism last week after the Brendan and Pieper situation started, and plenty of people have talked about it, but I think it is time to listen to Rachel. And in advance of the commenters that are going to say, I thought Rachel Lindsay quit the show, what's she doing? When there's an important topic and we need some people that know what they're talking about to weigh in on it, she's one of the perfect people here. She doesn't get riled up. She doesn't. She spits the facts. She very specifically addresses this situation, and she's got plenty of friends that were on the beach. So it's a good person to listen to here. Let's have a listen.
Rachel, what have you been hearing? You're back. You're thrust back into this, and what have you been hearing? Please tell us.
Well, I'll take it back. I feel like I've heard every side. So I who's telling the truth? I don't know. But, to take it way back in June, I was in New York. Juliet was with me. We were all at a dinner together, and Pieper was fresh off the beach. And I asked, hey, how did it go? And she told her version what happened. And I remember I kept thinking, that doesn't sound like Natasha. That just doesn't make sense for what I know. So then I talked to Natasha. She had a different version of it. Then I talked to people who work on the show. And my conclusion is, as I posted on social media, and it's been months since I've said anything Bachelor related, I'm Team Natasha. And this is no dig against Pieper, because I personally have written Pieper since. And I said, I don't want to talk about you in a negative way, because I know that a lot is coming her way, as is Brendan's, but I really don't care about that. I know a lot's coming Pieper's way, and I don't want to talk bad or down on another woman, let alone a Black woman at that. But she was wrong in how she handled it. And I think it's easy to forget things that you did, and especially getting caught up in the moment. And for lack of better words, she was dumb off the dick. And apparently she still is, unless they're dating. They're not dating more. She is. And we've all, ladies, we've all been there. We've all been 100%. Dumb off.
Too many times, unfortunately.
And we just didn't have it play out on television. And I think that she has had selective memory. Funny that Brendan used that towards Natasha, because I really think it's actually Brendan and Pieper who have selective memory about things.
My main thing here, first of all, Pieper then used that on herself. She was like, am I having selective memory here? And I'm just like, is Brendan incepting these women into thinking that they're fucking up? I was just like, what the hell?
Yes.
But it's definitely been tough. When we saw Pieper, it was clear that everyone was bracing themselves for the Brendan fuckboy edit. Everyone in Bachelor Nation was.
And no, everyone on the beach was. So then that leads me to believe, if every single person saw Pieper walk down the stairs and was like, uh-oh, we know how this is going to go. Well, how do you know this is going to go that way? Oh, because it's been talked about multiple times, because we all knew that they hung out beforehand, because everyone was warning her about it. So to me, I'm like, is it a complete blindside? No. Does it make what they did any less shitty? No, it's still super shitty. And like, I guess if I'm any team, then yes, I'm team Natasha. Like, she didn't do anything wrong. I just don't think it was.
Callie's been beaten into being team Natasha. We didn't start in this place.
No, I just don't think it was like this is out of nowhere how everyone was acting. Like the Chris thing with Jasenia, to me, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Whereas Brendan and Natasha, I'm like, yeah, we saw this coming one way or another. Even if a guy came down that Natasha was super interested in and she was like, I'm going this way, I would be like, yeah, not surprised you're not sticking with Brendan. So like, it wasn't shocking to me that this happened. It wasn't a blindside. Still sucks. They still did the wrong thing, I guess, even though other people did it at a different level. I think it's the way they handled it like afterwards. And mostly Brendan more than Pieper. Like,
sure,
the way Brendan spoke to Natasha, the things he was saying, like, just really rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm not saying that what he did and what they did wasn't shitty. I just don't think it was whoa, we're shocked.
So a couple of like inside scoop things, I guess, is that
nice.
They're just like, let me tell you something.
You know, everyone's like, what's the timeline? What's the timeline? Natasha knew. And, you know, Pieper's been like, we're friends. And Natasha said, well, actually, we just hung out once in a group getting our nails done. That doesn't, you know, mean that we're actually friends, which is, I agree. It doesn't mean that. But they hung out in April. Then there were pictures that Pieper and Brendan were hanging out. The Us Weekly article came out like the first week in June. I texted Natasha because she was like, I'm going to Paradise. And I was like, no, but okay, good luck. You know, like I was like, don't go, but good luck. But when I texted her, her text messages came back to me, meaning
green,
her phone was cut
I texted
off.
her too, and it was green.
That was before the Us Weekly article came out.
Ah.
So Natasha never saw what people coming to the beach may have seen. As being one of the first people on the beach, she never saw it. And I think that it's easy to convince yourself of, oh, maybe they did like each other, but if he's coming to the beach without her, then it clearly wasn't what everybody's making it out to be. Like, okay, they hung out. Maybe he hung out and knew that's not what he wanted, and this is what he wants now. That's something I would definitely tell myself.
Good insight
there.
Same, but
especially with the guy that you're attracted to. Like, there's been a lot of times where
paint those red flags white.
Even in a relationship with, there's been times where people are like, oh, well, he's with this girl or texting this girl. I'm like, he's not. He told me. He wants just me. And then like 2 months later, it's like, oh, no, he's
blissful ignorance.
Talking to that other girl and I'm an idiot. Like, yes, totally understand. We all can.
All right, here we go. Get to the good stuff.
Especially if it's really hot
here
guy.
It comes.
Especially in this circumstance.
Hot
totally
guy.
See that happening.
He's hot.
Absolutely. And then the other thing
here it is,
that
folks.
I have heard is that when Brendan came down to the beach, you know, Brendan keeps making these sideways comments about nobody wanted Natasha anyway.
It's so fucked up. Fuck you, Brendan.
And all these things. So what was learned
Brendan.
after is we all know Brendan has a type. Okay. He obviously likes women of color, but he likes a particular woman of color. And this is something that was relayed on the beach that wasn't relayed to Natasha until later, after Brendan was gone. And so what Brendan likes a woman, and this is what was said by him to men on the beach, is that he likes a woman who looks like a Pieper or a Deandra or a
Callie.
Marissa or a Callie. That's his type. That's his type of woman of color. And he is not necessarily into darker skinned Black women. And so when you know that type of information, and that's what he was telling other men on the beach, then you felt like, because if your type is Deandra and Marissa, why did you never go after them? Why did you go after the one woman that's not your type? Because she was dispensable to you. You didn't value her in the way that you valued the other women. So you used her because she didn't mean as much to you as the women that you're attracted to. That is what I deduce from that situation. And that's what makes him so gross to me. Whether he was doing it intentionally,
she was safe to
which
him.
I think he was, or subconsciously, that is exactly what he did. And so I think what bothers me the most, which is why I'm even here to talk about it all, is he used her. And that is such a, like as we're stepping into, all this awareness over the last 2 years, the fact that colorism is a huge issue, the fact that darker skinned women are treated a certain way by society, Brendan put that on full display on the beach. And the fact that Pieper, who I have always really admired in the way that she's been outspoken with the franchise and the way that she's talked about certain issues, the fact that she hasn't either seen it and spoken out on it is really troublesome to me. And I think that's like the biggest issue that I have in the whole Brendan thing is the way he just threw Natasha to the side, talked about it in front of Pieper, and then they just keep it moving.
Wow. All right, that's the clip. You guys can go watch the rest of it, or listen to it, I should say, anywhere you get podcasts. All right, and look, for some people, their response to this will be, all right, what's the big deal if Brendan is attracted to a certain type? Nothing in the immediate. That's not a big deal in the immediate. The big deal is that, as Rachel just does such a good job of explaining, that he either consciously or subconsciously, she thinks consciously, went to Natasha because he wasn't even into her. She wasn't a threat at all. So that was like his safe place of going, all right, I'll hang with Natasha until my lady gets here, and then I'll just not deal with these disgruntled females. Now, colorism is something we keep on talking about because a lot of people, they find each video differently at a different time. So you might not have heard the video last week. But colorism exists because all the way back to slave times, lighter-skinned black people, they got to do the house chores versus the hard labor. The paper bag rule existed, where you couldn't get a job at certain places or dine at certain places if you were darker than a paper bag. So it's not just white people that colorism exists. Light-skinned, mixed race, it's all over. It's systemic. It's built into where we are in our country. I'm sure it exists elsewhere as well. Darker-skinned people are paid less. Darker-skinned women essentially live in a third world country in the United States when it comes to giving birth. The death rates are ridiculous for darker-skinned women in our own US of A. They're more likely to be suspended in high school, obviously targeted more by police. So the list goes on and on. And, excuse me, so it is worth talking about whether Brendan was consciously or subconsciously targeting Natasha as a safe bet, as a person that he's not going to fall with. And obviously, if it's consciously, he's not respecting Natasha and her time and her heart and all that comes with that. So a lot of people are speaking out about this. Let's read some of your comments. Respectfully, if you have some comments, please, you can leave them below. But just, be as respectful as possible, because just because this is a situation you might not understand doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Anyone listening to the Bachelor Party pod with Rachel, so disgusted by Brendan's colorism. And I have to say this. We don't have anyone who was on the beach saying Brendan said these things. We've got Rachel Lindsay, who has been proven to be right time and again when it comes to stuff like this. Apparently, Brendan was on the beach saying he liked a particular kind of woman, those who looked like a Pieper, a Deandra, a Marissa. Honestly, disgusting. People who say that he can't be racist because Pieper is a woman of color are not paying enough attention to this element. Yeah, of course, you have to go within it all. Now, to reiterate what Rachel Lindsay just said, it's not bad that he likes a Pieper, a Deandra, a Marissa, but it is bad that Natasha isn't one of them. Natasha's a little darker skinned, and he went in after and used Natasha as a placeholder. That's where the true sort of criticism seems to lie. Really appreciate Rachel's point that it was incredibly suspect that after sharing his type, he latched onto a darker-skinned woman while he waited for his girl to arrive, even though his types were also on the beach. Suggests something unsavory going on in his subconscious about the desirability of darker-skinned women. So again, to reiterate, people are going to comment and go, oh, wow, way to make it a race thing and when it's not. Dive deeper into this with people of different skin colors here that are saying, hey, look, this is what happened. He's got a type. He avoided that type for somebody else and then wasted their time in the process. Luckily, Wells and Bachelor producers came in clutch and got Natasha the rose anyway. I'm not willing to credit Bachelor producers because they are the epicenter of all of these issues. Preferences are what they are. Yes, we should question our own preferences, but it doesn't really serve anyone to guilt others and to expand their dating pool. In fact, it seems counterintuitive to do that because it will just put people at risk of being with a partner who does not fully respect them. Happens enough as it is when preferences are based off of fetishizations. However, preferences are not an excuse to manipulate someone. And we really got to wonder why Natasha was the one he chose to manipulate. There's a pretty obvious case to be made as to why he gravitated towards her while he waited for his girlfriend to arrive. To be honest, I eye roll at the performative outrage of this sub at least once a week. But I mean, come on, this has to raise an eyebrow at least. So very, very interesting comment there by this person on Reddit. Added to what he kept saying about her having no prospects either, it's messed up. And for what it is worth, Natasha was prettier than Pieper by far in my eyes. Well, listen, that's not worth much to me because we're not trying to judge whose beauty. Pieper and Natasha are both extremely beautiful people. So we're not going to statistically go, well, he chose this. No, that's garbage. They're both beautiful people with full respect. Pieper can't possibly know what it's like to be in someone's, to walk in someone's shoes that is struggling with being darker skinned. They're in different places, much the same as I couldn't understand what it's like to be Pieper. Much the same. Or a woman or anyone of a different skin color. We only can truly know how we see life through our own two eyes, but we can have a little bit of empathy and grace to say, look, just because I don't understand what your plights or problems are, doesn't mean I'm not willing to provide a place for grace to exist, to know that these are problems that real people do face in today's day, 2021. So anyway, the sub sometimes gets super self-righteous. Brendan messed up, but now people are trying to crucify him based on hearsay. No one knows the context of the discussion. Maybe they asked him his type and he answered. Rachel Lindsay's final two were both white. Is she a colorist? Like, people chill. And of course, Rachel criticized the show for not providing her black men who date black women. That's a whole nother issue. She's talking about it. It is good for these conversations to exist amongst Rachel and other people in Bachelor Nation and you and I. It is good for people that look like me to have these conversations, and it is good to respect other people for calling out the things that they see and raising a little bit of truth to power here. So anyway, folks, let me know what you think. In times like these, in videos like these, I ask for extra amounts of grace and empathy in the comment section. If you do find yourself arguing with someone and it's not in good faith, I suggest you don't argue with them, because some people exist in a world where they can't possibly see what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. And for those people, no bother fighting with them. For the people, though, that are on the fence, let's have a good conversation. Let me know what you guys think. More content coming. Love to hear from Rachel Lindsay. Welcome back, even if it's for one episode only. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye now.